How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to Roll On Gaming, just in time for Shadows of the Galaxy pre-release weekend. It's just a couple days away from the release of this video, and we've been gone for a little bit, but that's primarily because my co-host, my brother Corwin, was off in France somewhere. I don't know where the heck you were. Corwin, how was your trip?
It was great. Yeah, Paris and San Sebastian were very good to me. It was good to be away for a bit and reset, but obviously as far as Shadow stuff is concerned, it was bad timing because it was just a massive spoiler dump while I was over there. Card after card after card being revealed and we got the whole set now. So, couldn't be couldn't be completely unglued from my phone just to keep up with the updates, but it was good.
Yeah, you missed a lot, that's for sure. And we didn't podcast while you were gone, but there was some content that we were able to push out while Corwin was away. I was a guest on the I Rebel Gaming podcast with Jedi Geek Girl. We talked a little bit about some Shadows of the Galaxy spoilers at the time. So if you've missed that, go on and check that out on I Rebel Gaming's channel. Also did an article on some Spark of Rebellion cards that I think would see an uptick in play once set 2 drops. I did that on Deploy Your Leader Gaming's website. So if you missed that, go ahead and take a look at that. And one of the cards I mentioned actually ended up being a reprint a couple days later. So that was pretty cool. Shout out Mercenary Company. So we
Mhm.
sort of hit the mark on that one. But Corwin, I gotta ask you here, right? So you went to France, right? And I asked you to bring me back two things. Do you remember what those two things were?
You wanted some French Ark of Rebellion
I
packs,
did. And did you
right?
did you bring me any of those?
No,
No.
couldn't find them.
No, you didn't. Okay, so and what was the second thing? Do you remember what the second thing was?
I don't remember what the second thing was.
Yeah, because you didn't bring me that either, by the way. The second thing was a baguette from France.
Oh, yeah.
Did not bring me a baguette. Lucky for you, there is a nice French bakery right down the street from me, and I was able to procure this morning a baguette. Now this thing is massive, and this is only half of one because I cut it in half, otherwise it wouldn't fit on my table. But this is a legit French baguette all the way from Burbank, California. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna do a little bit of a taste test. You're not getting this content anywhere else. We're gonna bite into this baguette and we're gonna we'll do a little ASMR, a little crunch. Let's see if it's actually legit, and then we're gonna figure out why Corwin didn't bring me any Spark of Rebellion cards in French while I eat this baguette. So here we go. Let's see if this is legit.
Yeah, bread doesn't travel well, on 14-hour flights, so, that was probably a request that was never gonna be fulfilled anyway.
It's a good crunch. It's probably better. The real thing's probably better. So
I'm
you know,
sure it is.
yeah.
I'm sure it is. We had some very good bread in France, and butter, by the way. French butter is, like, off the charts good. There's nothing like it in the States for sure.
Well, now that we have disgusted our viewers thoroughly, Corwin, while you were gone, we got to see the full set of Shadows of the Galaxy be revealed. And as you're checking your phone frantically from French hotels, what were some of the things that you were seeing that really sort of caught your eye as this massive dump of cards was taking place?
Yeah, I mean, the whole set now being revealed, I think I mean, obviously, it was hard to digest with the flurry of spoilers coming in, and I'm trying not to pay that close of attention because I'm on vacation, but I think maybe the biggest takeaway I had was just how many cards I would look at first glance and think, "Wow, that's actually a good card." And now that we have, a full set of from Spark of Rebellion to sort of compare to and use as a baseline, I I think that there are so many Shadows cards that just take a Spark of Rebellion card and do it a little bit better. And so that to me is definitely something that I'm keeping my eye on because it feels like um, there's more efficiency in this set. There's more you get a little more bang for your buck in this set, and compared and combined with Spark of Rebellion, I think we're going to already start to see some really powerful things transpire moving forward. So yeah, just think that this set is full of goodness, and I've been trying to dig into it since I've been back. It's slow going, but it definitely feels like there are some really, really cool things and powerful things that this set is going to be able to do.
Yeah, you talk about bang for your buck. I mean, I remember when we were talking about Boba Fett in this is the unit Boba Fett, not the leader Boba Fett. We all know that
Mhm.
leader Boba Fett is what it is. And, it's still probably one of the
Yeah, still probably the best leader in the game,
yeah.
or one of the top 3.
All things considered, having leader Boba Fett be as good as it is, and then getting this set right after is
Oh gosh,
pretty
yeah.
pretty wild. But if we're talking about Boba Fett Disintegrator, right, the legendary unit, you know,
Mhm,
that was the only one of its kind in Spark of Rebellion. 3 cost, 3
mhm.
5 with an ability. Yes, it had the two aspects, so it was a little bit more restricted in that way. But that's the stat line that everybody saw and went, "Whoa, there's a reason this is a legendary." Okay, we're chilling here. 3 cost 3 5 is not that uncommon in Shadows of the Galaxy. I mean, you're seeing Toro Calican, you're seeing Cassian Andor. I mean, you're even seeing I believe the card is Liberated Slaves, which is the 3 cost 3 5 with a blank text box. It's wild. I mean,
Yeah.
they're everywhere.
Dari Peacekeeper is technically a 1/5, but it's got the raid too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's yeah, and this is what I mean. It's a good example you bring up because things that we saw as being more exclusive in set one are now becoming more commonplace in set two, and that's kind of where I think I'm going with it. Is there are going to be a lot more options. Obviously, you're doubling a card pool, but at the same time, now you have a lot more interesting and competitive options to consider, even just from a stat line perspective, let alone some of the other mechanics and things we'll get into. But yeah, I mean, it feels like there are a lot more cards that if they were printed in just a set one meta alone would be, whoa, yeah, you got to play this. This is an auto include in any of these decks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to see just the innovation that comes with stuff like that, right? Because the jump from having 252 cards to now having, I'm not going to even try to do that math, 514 something. I don't.
514.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
see,
got.
there you
Oh,
go.
look at
Not
that!
bad.
Hey, we got there eventually. So that sort of jump is massive when it comes to deck building. And the you mentioned sort of the auto includes, right? When there are a lot less auto includes when you're dealing with one set than you are with two, because you have this idea of what's good and this pre-established notion of things that work. Now that you've played with a set of Star Wars Unlimited, and now with more cards that perpetuate that idea of, hey, this is what works, this is what's good. There are now more cards that can do this thing. Your auto include list increases. And when it does that, now all of a sudden your decision making when building a deck, at least in my experience, sort of tinkering with decks online with Shadows of the Galaxy cards, is so much more difficult. Because if you need to make room for 30 auto includes instead of 20, you're cutting good cards. You're cutting legitimately cards that you would have absolutely wanted in your Spark of Rebellion decks. And now they're on the chopping block. So that to me is one of the most exciting parts of Shadows of the Galaxy dropping, because you're not going to see cookie cutter 60 card lists, right? You're not going to see the final 50 with the 10 card sideboard all being the same across the board, or like having like a couple cards switched out here and there. Like, there's a lot more room for diversity of thought, and a lot more um there's a lot more of what works and ways to pull that off in different ways, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder how much we're going to continue to see deck building really take the model of I'm going to play 16 cards at 3x and then
Mm-hmm.
1 2x.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really going to be the way folks go now? It is the most efficient way to build, but is it going to be the standard just because you have so many good options? And this is only 2 sets, mind you.
Yeah.
Like, we're just gonna keep growing from here, and it's gonna get more and more difficult, to where there probably won't be maybe there won't even be such thing as an auto include. Or if there is, it's just because, you're on theme and there's a particular card that just fits way too well to leave out, which I think that's the case in this set too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, from a deck building perspective, I'll be very curious to see how some of the top lists play out in terms of efficiency and how many one ofs and two ofs we see, because I think that there's room for that, given how many cards, good cards and playable cards there are in this two sets combined.
I still struggle with one ofs personally. Just because, I want a little bit more of the consistency, but there's so many two ofs in the decks that I've already started making. Like I can't do the 16 times 3 model anymore. I just can't. It's not I wasn't really doing a ton of it in Spark of Rebellion. And now even more than that, like you want the flexibility to, like, if you drop down to like 4 two ofs, that's more of those good cards that were left on the chopping block that you can fit into your deck. So I
Yeah.
agree with you. I think that deck building is really going to sort of come to the forefront again and be like, hey, let's innovate. Let's figure out the absolute best way to do this. And I'm excited for it. But with every sort of new thing, right? The old thing sort of goes to the back burner and things like that. And I want to get your take on this before we continue with our Shadows of the Galaxy discussion, because you and I come from Star Wars Destiny. We were in that from the beginning, and I think we've discovered that this game is nothing like Destiny, and I mean that in the best way possible. Destiny was fun. This game beats it on every level. But I think a lot of the sort of longtime Destiny players were of the mindset that one set meta, right? When the game first came out with the Awakening set, like that was sort of the golden age of the purity of Star Wars Destiny. It's just like everything was, not necessarily straightforward, but it was like this is sort of how the game, like the very foundational way to play the game. And so we're now leaving the one set meta in Spark of Rebellion, and I just want to sort of get your thoughts looking back on like how you think we're going to view the Spark of Rebellion meta. Is it going to sort of be that, oh, it's never going to get better than this, like the golden age, right? Or have we already seen in Shadows of the Galaxy that, like, we're on this upward trajectory, and it's fine to leave set 1 in the dust because now it's bigger and better and everything we could have ever wanted and more.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good question. Obviously, the initial set is always going to hit different because it's the first set and it's the first experience you have with the game, and it's going to feel the feelings you have playing it first time around, the first cycle, are just not going to be the same as any other time. So I think for me, I'm always going to look back on the set 1 meta fondly, and um, definitely appreciate the simplicity of it. One thing I'll say is I can already tell with Shadows. I mean, there are a fair amount of new mechanics we're introducing already. Things are going to get kind of crazy, especially with like Smuggle now having to like keep an eye on all of your resources at constantly. Um, the complexity is going to definitely ratchet up as we go. So I'm sure that from that perspective, I'll be appreciating set 1 alone a little bit more. But if you remember with Destiny, what was it? The second set it wasn't Spark Rebellion, it was it Spirit of
Spirit of
Rebellion.
Rebellion.
Spirit of Rebellion, and it just broke everything. Um, and I'm not saying that's what's going to happen here. I don't necessarily think that it will. But yeah, I mean, you went from a very clean sort of, I want to say fair, but it was a very clean and more simple meta, set 1 meta for Destiny, to just all hell breaking loose with Spirit of Rebellion. So hopefully it's not as huge of a shift this time around. But I think that, you know, introducing a new card pool, a new set, getting some fresh eyes and fresh takes on things is never going to hurt for the health of the game, and I think all of us are really excited to see what this set will bring.
Luckily, I don't think there are a whole lot of force speeds and vibro knives that we're going to have to worry about from the cards we've seen
Yeah.
in Shadows of the Galaxy. But and the other thing I think of that I want to make the point of is the the cards from set one are still good, right? Like
Mhm.
I don't see a world in which you can sleeve up a Sabine Green like you would previously and have a bad time, right? Boba is gonna be Boba. That is what it is. But like, I don't think you're gonna necessarily feel like you're behind the eight ball if you're playing some of the decks that saw success in set one. And I do think there's a
Mhm.
world in which some of those sort of fringe set one leaders do get a boost with set two. I mean, I know I'm a huge Theron stan. I get it. You know, I'm gonna come with from a little bit of a bias from this perspective. But if you're playing the control archetype right now, Shadows of the Galaxy gave you a lot to work with, right? Especially in cunning and vigilance, right? So those tools weren't there to make yellow blue Thrawn in set one as good as you can in set two. Again, Palpatine got some new tools. Chirrut got some new tools. Sabine got a heck of a lot of new tools. You know, there's a world in which you can still play these tried and true archetypes that you're used to, only enhancing with the cards from Shadows of the Galaxy. And I think that's important to note. It's just like the whole meta isn't going to turn into, you know, what's the best set two leader. No, it's the combination of both of those. All 36 of our leaders, and minus a couple that we might not be as high on in both sets. But I think there's definitely a world in which you're still going to have just as much fun playing set one leaders and set one cards and not feel like you absolutely have to be shadows heavy.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think for some of these decks, it won't actually take a whole lot of shadows to modify them in a way that's still going to be very strong.
Mhm.
The strongest decks from set one, I think you could still take into whatever we see coming in the next set's meta and do just fine. Um, and maybe there's minor additions you can make. So yeah, I think um, that I think is where my hope is greatest, is that as we move from set to set, we're not seeing these giant leaps in terms of like power creep.
Yep.
And so far from what I've seen in this set, I don't see that here.
Yeah.
And that definitely gives me a lot of hope and positivity, because it's hard enough for people to get cards. If they've worked as hard as they have to get set one cards, they should be able to use them and still feel really good about their chances. I think that's going to be the case here. And with some, maybe some minor upgrades with shadows cards, I think set one leaders, set one archetypes, set one staples, still very viable.
You actually bring up an interesting point. It's not just that set one cards are, if you have them and worked hard enough to get them, you should be able to play them. That's one side of the eight ball. Eight balls don't have sides. That's one side of the coin. There we go. The other side of the coin is people who got into the game late, right, and are getting into the game now as set two releases. We're really going to see the strength of Shadows of the Galaxy based on itself, right? Based on one set.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a one set meta for some people who haven't either had the chance to get Spark of Rebellion product or who haven't wanted to spend the inflated amounts of money that some people are charging trying to get that product. And so, for those people, I'm hopeful because it does seem like Shadows of the Galaxy is another well designed set, but how will it work as a standalone for some of the late adopters of Star Wars Unlimited? I think that's going to be a really interesting leveling point for some people as we, as the set drops and we see, you know, the mix between set one and set two. Is that more holistic? Yeah, sure, of course it is. But do the set two only decks stack up to that more complete approach? Will be interesting to find out.
Yeah, definitely. And I would imagine that's probably the answer to that is probably yes, they can stack up
Mm-hmm.
because I'm sure that especially designing for limited too, like you have to sort of think of the set holistically. I would imagine
Mm-hmm.
putting each one together, and that's why some of these reprints are coming in just to kind of round things out. So yeah, I don't think that'll be an issue for folks who only have shadows. There will be plenty of options.
Well, it appears the word of the day on this podcast is holistically, so look that up. But you mentioned smuggle. I want to sort of get your opinion on of these new mechanics that we're seeing in shadows. Which one do you think is going to impact the meta the most? Because you've got bounties, which you don't even have to play bounties; they're on some cards, which is cool.
Mhm.
The capture mechanic, and then smuggling, and then on a broader scale from that, the focus on upgrades as a whole, is
Mhm.
a lot higher in Shadows than we saw in Spark of Rebellion. Not just with the bounty cards, but also with things like Mandalorians, things that get boosts when upgraded. So, where do you land on which of those is going to have the greatest impact on the set 1 and 2 meta as we get it here in just a few days?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably between bounties and smuggle for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't I don't think I see capture being well, I guess for one, I don't see a ton of support for it in this set outside of the Mandalorian. And for two, from my own perspective, I think I'm just in the camp that I'd rather defeat the unit if I can than capture it and give my opponent a chance to get it back.
Yep.
So I'm not sure how much capture is going to see play. I'm also not sure about the upgrade spamming because there are just too many reliable ways to remove upgrades. So I'm not really sure unless you're trying to do a theme deck, which Bo-Katan and Mandalorian and other sort of leaders will support that. But outside of that, I'm not sure I see a ton of upgrades really taking over because as soon as that happens in a meta, you're just going to start seeing all the bamboozles and the fang fighters and the other cards that will just kind of negate that strategy entirely or make it very difficult anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's bounties and smuggle and bounties because some of the bounties are just ridiculous. Like, and with Bosk being in the field and being able to capture those bounties twice, that is going to definitely be something to keep an eye on, I think.
Yeah, I think Bosk is a really interesting one for me because with him, you kind of have to draw the bounties you're looking for, unless your opponent helps you out and plays unlicensed headhunter, right? And you can reliably kill that and heal 10 from your base, um, or something
But
along
it's not
those.
even just that. It's like, I mean, there are some of those cards that those early units, the one cost that
Sure.
have the bounty draw card, like even things like that. I mean, those are super attractive options to play. Um, and the payoff of those for you, the person playing them, is great enough to where you in some cases are okay giving up the bounty.
Mhm.
Bosk really capitalizes on that more so than other decks can. So yes, I think it's about drawing what you need, but also there are going to be bounty opportunities floating around out there, I think.
Sure, sure. But the counterpoint to that is if those are played in the early game, then Bosk isn't deployed and you can't double up on the bounty. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I think I like Bosk a lot, and that's definitely what I'm going to be experimenting with. I think Bosk can really work in any color, depending on what bounties you want. You know, if it's green, you obviously get ECL and you get a little bit more from the capture side of things. And you also, you get some ramp with price on your head and bounty hunter's quarry, right? You know, if it's blue, top target is disgusting, right? And then if it's yellow, you get a lot more bounty hunters. You know, you can play, relentless pursuit, which is one of the better capture cards, because you're able to get that shield. And then stuff like unrefusable offer is really cool. Um, I Speaking to capture a little bit, I'm with you in the sense that obviously you just want to defeat the unit. I'm less with you in the sense that it might not be as good because like I do think there's a world, especially if you're playing a more controlling method of capturing units. If your opponent's dropping one unit around, and you are able to sort of stem that tide by capturing their units to a point where they're not attacking and defeating your own units, right? The ones that are guarding those captured units. I do think there's something to that because we're seeing more health on some of these units, right? Again, the 3 cost 3/5s, right? There's a lot higher of a curve when it comes to what you're getting for your resources. And with that comes the fact that you're not always able to defeat those units right away. Now, sure, takedown's a thing, vanquish is a thing, rivals fall is a thing. Super laser blast is a thing. But you're not always going to have the damage output available to immediately just get rid of something. So if you're able to not give your opponent the opportunity to have a board state where capturing one of their impactful units is just immediately get it back, I think capture could have some legs to it. I think that it'd be cool if there were more capture like events. The only ones I can really think of at this point are, Relentless Pursuit and Take Captive. And then you've got the Discerning Bounty Hunter, or the Discerning Veteran, which is almost like an event, but you get a unit with it. So if there was a little bit more of that, I'd feel a little bit better about that statement, right? But I think capture might have a place. And maybe it's just with like a Jabba or a Mandalorian that give you the auto capture. But I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see if somebody comes up with a valid way to capture, because I think it was Tyler Parrott who mentioned on one of the streams. It was either Tyler or Danny, I forget. They said that in testing there was a deck that was just all the capture cards, and they had to sort of reel it back a little bit because like going all in on capture was probably something that didn't feel too great. So it'll be interesting to see if how much they reeled that back to the point where it's still viable.
Yeah. I kind of view it in the same vein as just exhausting. And exhausting a unit, there are just, especially with yellow, there are just so many more ways to do that more efficiently right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's really what I'm going to accomplish, then I'm just going to go that route.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I will be happy to be proven wrong again for the health of the game, having more options available. But at this point, I think I'm in the camp of I'm defeating, because now like with capture, my removal cards are turning into I defeat your unit and I get mine back. So it's like it's I don't know that I'm not sold on that. I think there are more efficient ways to do what capture's trying to do, but at the same time, we haven't seen it in action yet, so it's it's possible that I could be a little misguided here.
The counterpoint is that if you don't remove it right away, you've lost at least one turn
Yeah, of course,
of attacking with that unit, because even if you get it back immediately, it's still exhausted. So,
of course, yeah.
But I agree, and I mean now to your point, now in cunning, you have cards for 0 that can exhaust a unit, which is great. Like look
and
the
there's
other way
also
is a
that new
crazy
blue
card.
Yeah, no, oh yeah, no question. That card's so good. But there's also that blue card that costs 1, where you can exhaust something and then rescue a captured unit.
Yep.
Anyway, I think there's enough counterplay there for it to sort of not be a thing, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
yeah. I do like Smuggle a lot though, and I think that like for that reason, I'm now that we've seen more and more Smuggle cards come out, like I do think that I'm a little bit higher on Hondo than I was previously. Um,
I'm so excited for Hondo.
yeah,
Like I I don't really play villain much, but Hondo is one of my favorite characters from the animated series, and so I'm definitely excited to see what he can do.
one of the best showcases too, for sure. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
looks really good. Looks really good. But while we're on the subject of leaders, we just got 18 new ones, and I'm curious as to what your first foray into a Shadows of the Galaxy deck will look like. So, give me the first leader you're going to test with. Give me the pairing and tell me why.
Okay. Uh yeah. Well, I've got some options because really it's less so about the leader this set for me and more so about I'm just playing Red Hero because Poe is in Red Hero. So I'm gonna have options.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it seems like there are some good ones already forming, but I think my starting point is probably gonna be Ray with aggression.
Okay.
Um, I played so much Luke in set one that it feels like a natural sort of progression of that journey. And I don't think that Ray will necessarily be better than Luke, but I do want to experiment and see what she can do.
Yep.
Obviously, the Restore 3 is kind of
No,
gross.
yeah.
I think in the deck I would, in addition to Poe, I would play unit Luke. So now I've got Restore 3s coming with Ray and Luke, and those are the only two units I think with Restore 3 in the game. So
Yep.
um I want to explore that and see what's there. Plus, all of the really good early hero red cards, they all work with Ray's ability. A-Wing, Sabine, Red 3, um obviously there's new ones that we can play too.
Yep.
Um some of the force users like Yoda is really good with her. So it just I think there's potentially some good early game strategy there, just to sort of like float until you can get to the the Poes and the Rays and the Lukes, and sort of finish the game that way. So that's probably what my starting point is. Again, just to see what Ray looks like and how she feels, and then potentially pivot from there to other options. I've got my eye on a few leaders, but Ray's probably the first one I'll play.
Do you play Ray unit in your Ray uh, red deck?
I don't think so. I do think I want Kylo,
Now that's
because I
interesting.
think in the deck. Well, I mean, I think in that deck Kylo works fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to feel great to drop him at 6 and then kind of wait around to use him, but um, I don't think I want Ray because I don't think there are going to be enough non-hero cards, to really take advantage of her ability.
Sure.
And if we can't take advantage of her ability, she's just a 4/7 for 5, which is like a decent stat line, but not something to really take up a deck slot with.
I mean, that's a Boba Fett stat line, right? It's 4/7 for 5.
For yeah, but I have to pay 5 for her as opposed to deploying him for
For
free.
free. Yeah, sure. Sure. Yeah, I really like Kylo a lot. So I'm not surprised that you would include that. I think for me, it's weird that neither of us is mentioning cunning, because at this point it's really hard to pick against cunning as one of the best aspects, if not the best aspect in the game.
It's on
Um,
the short list of other decks I'm considering, but you
yeah,
asked for the first one,
right,
so.
right, exactly. And I think for me, like, I'm really interested in Jabba with aggression.
Something villain green so you can play Maul.
Yes. Well, first of all, there's that. There's villain. I need villain green so I can play Maul. But the thing about
Yeah,
Jabba
Java.
is, especially, and you would think, again, because of sort of the underworld schematics, right? You would think yellow would be better, and maybe it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Um, but I think if I'm there's two reasons why I want to do Jabba with red. One is, I think if I'm playing green yellow villain, Jabba's probably not going to do what that does as well as either a Cad Bane or a Boba Fett would do. Just spitballing on that front. And then because Jabba can give the bounty every round, right? If you want to. And yes, that ends up being a little bit slow. But some of the red villain cards interact with bounties better than the yellow villain cards do. And so, when I talk about that, I talk about Jango Fett just automatically getting the +3/+0 and overwhelm without having to play a card for it. Chrysanthemum coming in ready, right? The new Trandoshan Hunters card automatically getting an experience when you play it because the bounty's there. And then it's not red, but being able to drop the bounty hunter that you can play for one less on turn one. That's a 3/4. Just by exhausting Jabba is incredible. You're getting a 3/4, first round of the game.
Oh yeah.
And I'm ashamed that I don't remember it
That
because
card was a reputable. Is that reputable hunters or
reputable
something?
hunter. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that again, the speed, the tempo is going to be a concern there. But when you take all that, and the shenanigans that can ensue from that, and then the ability to potentially drop a Devastator on 8 resources, getting Jabba's Rancor at 6 for a 9/9. There's really some spice to be had there, and I'm very interested to see. And not to mention, as we talk about Maul, right? If Jabba's deployed, that's a lot of health that he can soak up in Maul's attacks, right? Because of his ability.
Yeah.
So
That's really good.
So I don't know. I'm kind of interested to try it out and see what the best mix of bounty related cards could be within that vein.
Yeah, I think Jabba feels like the Palpatine of this set.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to see how you do with that because you didn't really play a lot of Palpatine in set one.
Mm-mm.
You were so focused on Boba. Um, so yeah, playing more of and Thrawn, of course, but yeah, playing more of the long game with Green. Um, it'll be interesting,
Yeah.
and you can still ramp.
Still
You
ramp.
can still ramp. So
Still ramp.
it's going to be Jabba. I think is one that will probably see some play.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, some of those discounts he provides you can be really impactful.
So you mentioned Poe and I mentioned Maul. Those are obviously our 2 units that are. I mean, we're gonna put them in every deck, right? Aside from Poe, putting him aside, like what's the most the card that you're most excited to play with? That's not a leader. That you just want to get it on the table, and it's not Poe.
Yeah. So, coincidentally, another card that can work with, but we talked about Smuggler earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to play Tech.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think Tech, just like being able to essentially turn your entire resource row into your hand, for 3, and he's got the 5 health, so he's a little sturdy. I'm again just Smuggle in general. I'm curious about, but having the option of all of the strategy and the different lines and thought process behind knowing you have Tech in your deck and making those resourcing decisions all the more impactful as if they weren't impactful enough already, is something that I'm very, very excited to explore. So Tech is the one that I think I'm going to be playing a lot of in the early set 2 stages, just to get the feel and see how it goes. Because even outside of a hunter deck, I feel like Tech is going to have a place.
I think Tech has you have a reason to put Tech in every heroism deck, and honestly, like there's a world in which you play him out of aspect in a Hondo deck. He's that good, and
I think so.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm worried a little bit about Tech because to me it seems like you're paying 3 for a 2/5 Sentinel. right?
Yeah,
Like that becomes
which is not terrible.
no, it's not
It's,
terrible.
I mean, it's not great,
Yeah.
but it's not terrible. And then with Ray, he can become a 3/6,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
that's significant enough.
It's nothing to sneeze at, you know. But I do think he
But yeah,
becomes
I mean,
target number one.
yeah, and I think I'm not necessarily mad at that. If they want to go after a 2/5,
Right.
by all means.
Right. Right. No, yeah, I mean, you know, that's another way to look at it. It's just sure. Take that's 5 damage that isn't done to my base. Or a removal card that isn't used on my leader or something you know, maybe more impactful down the road. Um
Another reason why, if I can just quickly jump in
yeah.
about smuggle again. Another reason why I'm really interested in the smuggle mechanic is I want to see how control decks deal with it,
Hmm.
because I mean, in set one, control decks really relied on just you running out of steam
Hmm.
and running out of options. And control decks will have an easy enough time removing a card like Tech, but they can't really hit your resource row. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
that, what is it, the scanning officer that
Scanning
looks at
officer.
your resources? Yeah, so maybe control decks run that, but like I'm gonna be curious to see how that interaction plays out, because turning all your cards into smuggle with tech, or just having a lot of cards with smuggle that you're resourcing and making available for future turns, um, how that dynamic is going to play out between smuggle and control is it's interesting to me to think about.
I'm I'm really interested in how much play scanning officer sees, because that card has the potential to be absolutely disgusting.
Like
Um
a total blowout.
Total
Yeah.
blowout. If you drop that round one, even if you hit one of your opponent's resources that has smuggle, you've now exhausted that resource and potentially
Mhm.
picked up a huge amount of tempo. So
Yeah, there's no other card in the game that's doing that.
right.
So I think that card has the potential to really be a powerhouse
Mhm.
potentially for certain archetypes.
Between scanning officer hitting your potentially hitting your resource row and Bazine hitting your hand round one,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
there's there's gonna be some throwing of tables potentially, which is gonna be really interesting. Um
Oh, villainy.
yeah, well, scanning officer neutral, so there you go.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Is it's green?
Green.
Scanning officer?
Hmm.
Green?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think if both of those were villainy, we'd be in trouble. Um, so I think that's right. I'm gonna have to look that up real quick. But while I look that up, you know, I think I was going to say Kylo as my non-mall leader that was, or
Ooh.
non-mall non-leader unit that I was most excited to play. Because you know Kylo just looks sick, right? It's a legendary. The art's great. The ability's great. Even if you're not getting the hitting the non villainy cards with it, you know you're still getting +2/+0, which is pretty awesome. You know, turning
Which you can use on him
right.
too if all else fails.
Yeah, confirmed. Scanning officer is green
Look at
neutral.
that on the fly.
We did it.
Mid
Um,
sentence.
but I think instead of saying Kylo, I gotta say, like, you know me, I like big things. When it comes to playing giant units on the board, so I'm not gonna say
Sorry.
finalizer because I'm not convinced on finalizer. But I think I am gonna say
I don't
crate.
think finalizer is as bad as people say, but that's just me.
I think I am gonna say crate dragon.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
Red Dragon's disgusting.
crate dragon's incredible. I mean, it's such an incredible card, and I'm sad that I'm sad that I haven't had a chance to mess around with it too much. But like, I think, I mean, crate. You talk about a blowout. Crate dragon's a blowout. Like, you want to play Rivals Fall on my Crate Dragon? Sure, take 6 to base. Like,
Mhm.
I in late game, but when that comes out, that 6 is gonna make a huge impact. You know, 9 for a
Potentially, yeah.
10/10 is gross. And then just having that on top of it, like, I think Crate Dragon's gonna somebody's gonna be, make somebody else very upset with Crate Dragon. Um, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm here for it because Crate Dragon's really cool. That's definitely a legendary I'm not going to be upset to pull in my packs.
Yeah, Crate Dragon's one of the better ones. It's like it
Yeah.
feels like some of the legendaries are definitely misses in this set,
Hmm.
but Crate Dragon is not one of them. It's going to be a very good card.
I know you're not going to sit here and besmirch endless legions for me. I know you're not going to do
No, I don't think
that.
so. I like that Endless Legions exists, even though it's easily countered.
Yeah.
Um, but there's some other ones that I'm just, are head scratchers for me,
Yeah.
which I won't be happy to see in packs.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that.
I think I'm most obviously Poe. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be not. I think he is going to be my top target for legendaries.
Hmm.
Followed probably by Dark Saber.
Oh, Darksaber looks great. Yeah, Darksaber's incredible. For me, it's honestly like with the exception of Finalizer, which I'm still going to be excited to get because it's a starter sure and I love them.
Yeah, I like Finalizer
But
personally. I like it.
for me, it's the first order legendaries. It's it's Kylo and it's Snoke. Snoke looks incredible.
You
Um,
like Snoke, huh?
I
Interesting.
love Snoke. I think Snoke is amazing. So that's another one that was on the short list for me of cards I'm really excited to
Hmm.
play. Um,
Hmm.
just giving everything -2/-2 is just it's so nuts. Um, so I think that's another one that's gonna see some play for sure. So
I definitely agreed on Kylo. I'm excited for Kylo. I wish I was more excited for Ray, but I don't think Ray's doing it.
get on the train, man. Get on the Ray train.
I mean, I won't be sad because I like her character and she's a heroism legendary, which I will inevitably need at some point. But
So
for now,
here's what you
I
do.
don't
You
have
you
any
you
thing
play Kylo Blue, and you just have Ray.
for Ray.
Yeah,
Kylo Blue is going to be good anyway. I think.
potentially.
Um,
Whether it's blue or green, because
Blue or green, I think, is the way you go. Yeah,
Palpatine's return is a thing.
it is a thing.
How good that card ends up being remains to be seen, but on paper it looks fun. That's for sure. Well,
A lot of targets and red green villain.
we're saying goodbye to the Spark of Rebellion meta. We're saying hello to the Shadows of the Galaxy meta. Really excited to get to some pre-releases and check out for one thing those awesome looking pre-release promos of the leaders. Having
Hmm.
them be foil on one side and hyperspace on both is amazing, and uh, I'm all in on that. I wish they'd done something similar for the Luke Invaders, but obviously the Luke Invader alts were also really cool. Um, we didn't even talk about the fact that you can find starter leader showcases in packs. That's crazy. Like,
Yes,
can you
and
imagine if
hopefully
you
the standard going forward.
can you imagine if you could have found a Darth Vader showcase in a Spark Rebellion pack? I would have lost my mind and my house.
I, I mean, I imagine it's got to be coming at some point.
Yeah, in some
You
form or
know,
fashion.
yeah, yeah. Um, but no, that is really great, and just like in set one, there are a lot of really good looking showcases, and there are some not so good looking ones.
Yeah,
But obviously, it's great to see that those are all back once again, and that we have the Mando and Moff Gideon ones. The Mando one looks really cool.
incredible. I mean,
That one,
they
I will
both the
not.
starter ones look really good. They're definitely
Yeah,
top tier. Well, so we're excited for that. We're excited for showcases. We're gonna try to get a showcase in here. I've
yeah. We
got
need a roll on
we
showcase
need we
for
need a
once
poll
here.
here. So what we're gonna do? This is the remaining stack of Spark of Rebellion packs from my box that I purchased from Deployer Leader Gaming way back when Spark of Rebellion released. It's amazing these have lasted this long, but that just means we're not doing enough episodes. So that's just something to be said. I don't know if we're going to continue opening packs in set two on episodes just because the fact that these have been taunting me every day. So we're gonna have a tough time waiting that long again for Shadows of the Galaxy. But before we open at least one of these packs, I just want to give a shout out to Deployer Leader Gaming because they have been a great supporter of our channel. They've allowed me to you know put my incoherent thoughts sometimes on paper by allowing us to feature articles on their website. Brian is amazing when it comes to packing and shipping all the singles that he sends. There will be product on the site once more when Shadows of the Galaxy drops. So go ahead and check out Deploy Your Leader Gaming. That's deployyourleader.com. And if you do buy singles there, whether it's now or when Shadows of the Galaxy releases, if you use code ROLLON10, you'll get 10% off your singles order. So again, go check that out. Thank you to DYL for continuing to be a partner with Roll On Gaming. And so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna rip till we hit, right? So we're gonna open a pack. If we don't have anything good in it, we're gonna open another pack, and we're gonna stop when we hit something good. So let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna start with this Leia pack, and we're gonna see what's what. So here we go.
I think the layup pack's gonna be money. I'm feeling this one.
First pack magic? Okay, all right.
I think we're going 1-for-1.
We'll do a showcase check. We didn't get one, but there is a lay in there, so that's quite synergistic.
Even better. That's boding well for this.
All right, so I do see a hyperspace. All right, so we'll skip right to that because everybody knows what these cards are at this point. Echo Base Defender is a really nice one. We love to see that. And then let's see, Fallen Lightsaber is good with a foil takedown. Okay, all right. I don't think I'm going to classify that as a hit, just because I'm
not a hit
degenerate and I want to open more packs. So we're going to put that off to the side. We're going to try this Chewy pack. Let's see what the Chewy pack has to offer. Now we did not get
Thrawn pack's third.
Well, there's Thrawn pack staring at me here. All right, we're going to do a showcase check. There's not a showcase. I would laugh if this was a Chewy though. It's not. It's a Chirrut. All right, so we'll skip to the end here. That is a foil volunteer soldier. No hyperspaces in here, and we got a frontline shuttle. So definitely not a hit in that pack.
Definitely not a hit.
Nope. So we'll keep going. The Thrawn packs have always been good to us on this channel. So let's see if this one's particularly good to us.
Third time's the charm.
Third time's the charm. Well, this I will say, as we don't get another showcase, I will say this box has been very good to us so far, because this box has had a Vader in it, right, which we didn't open on camera, which I was very sad about. And it also had an aggression in it. So we've gotten a couple legendaries out of this box. I'm not sure if there was another one. I feel like there was. Oh, no, there wasn't. No, those are the two we've opened so far. So conceivably, we're due at least one more. So we'll see. Maybe there's only two. Who knows? We've gotten some really good hyperfoils, though. We got a Bosk hyperfoil out of this. I'm talking too much. I'm going to go ahead and just continue to look for hits here. Again, no hyperfoils to speak of. We do have, a foil Seven Sister. Ooh. Foil rare is very nice.
Foil rare. You never complain about that.
And then a Relentless, very good. I think if the hyperspace Echo Base Defender wasn't a hit, then I don't think the foil Seven Sister was a hit, although this is a really nice one, and I'm very happy to have it. So we're going to go ahead and rip one more. Again, this is just very cathartic, as cards that have just been sitting here staring me in the face for so long. We'll do a quick
you might just need to rip them all at this point. We have a new set coming in 5 days.
Do a quick showcase check. There isn't one. I do see a hyperspace.
Oh, there's a hyperspace.
So let's go and check that out. That's a Cloud City Wing Guard. That's a nice one. Foil repair, and then there's a Vigilance. There we go.
Oh,
that's a nice one.
That's
right there. One. I think that is probably a good hit for us, because Vigilance is that's a really good card, and definitely
holding its value. Yeah,
definitely.
It will still be very much a I think a staple of set 2 as well.
Yeah, I don't think Vigilance is going anywhere. So this box again has been particularly good to us. The Vader, the Vigilance, and the Aggression. Not displeased to see any of those. Aggression, maybe sort of on the low end of the double aspect legendaries that get played, but with all the upgrades potentially in set 2,
yep,
Aggression stonks are going up. So have that in mind there. So that's gonna do it. Five packs left on the chopping block. So we'll have to open those another time. But yeah. Say goodbye to Spark of Rebellion, Corwin. It's been real.
All right, we're gonna be ripping a lot more packs here in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, we definitely are. So
we'll get your fix.
It's finally time to rip more packs, and really, everybody wins when that happens. We're just as much of a pack degenerate as the next person, and I'm glad that we're gonna rip some packs with the bros when set 2 comes out. That's gonna be really exciting.
and on the channel too, hopefully.
That is the goal. That is the goal. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for more Shadows content coming out soon. In just a short while, I will be having another article featured on Deploy Leader Gaming that goes through the Moff Gideon starter. So keep an eye on that. I know Jack from Golden Ice Podcast is going to be doing the Mandalorian starter, so keep an eye on that as well. And we're back. We're here just in time for set 2. I can't wait to get into some more gameplay, Corwin. This is really, an exciting time for any card game is when a new set drops, and no different for SWU. And I'm excited to chronicle all of it as we move forward.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot to share and a lot to talk about. So, but whenever you're watching this, hopefully your pre-releases give you everything you want this weekend.
Yes.
And we'll definitely be going to our fair share, and it'll be great to get some new cards in our hands finally.
Yeah, I will be hoping for a mall pull, and obviously whatever legendaries that I can get my hands on. So either way,
Mall for you, a poke for me. Everyone's happy.
Everyone's happy. It's gonna be awesome. So that's gonna do it for us. Thank you all for listening, for tuning in, for watching me eat bread. Sorry about that. If you enjoyed the video, if you continue to enjoy our content and you haven't subscribed yet, please feel free to do so by hitting the button down below. That really helps us out a lot. If you enjoyed it, like the video and comment down below the leader or card that is your favorite in Shadows of the Galaxy, the one you're most excited to play. I posed the question on social media, and I love seeing just the variance of responses. It's really cool to see that everybody's got something that they really want to test out. So drop that down below if you've made it this far. And thanks everybody. We're gonna keep talking about Star Wars Unlimited for as long as we are able. So that's gonna do it for my brother Corwin. I am Kevin, signing off.